help people with all the complexities of fee waiver rules that you have to start implementing. So we'll have Principal Brad Harris. Principal Harris is the principal of Belknap Elementary, which is in Beaver School District. And last year, Belknap was one of our Utah National ESEA Distinguished Schools. They were honored at the National ESEA Conference in Kansas City. They were able to bring a school team there, and we're really excited today to hear about the wonderful things that they're doing to make their school so successful. So we'll turn some time over to Principal here.
First of all, sorry, I know you guys are supposed to have a break right here, and now you have to listen to me for a little while, so I do apologize for that. And I hope that you're not saying, oh, I need to go get a Diet Coke or something like that before. But I'm excited to be here. I know last year Mrs. Donaldson reached out to us after our school received that wonderful award, and she wanted me to present last year, but my son was getting married, so I was like, my son getting married or come here, so I thought I was off the hook, but she reached out to me earlier this year and said, come on back, and I'm excited to be here. As a principal, we're always excited to talk about our school, and Belknap Elementary School has a lot of great things going on right now. Last year, Belknap Elementary School actually received 2 national awards. We received the 2018 National Blue Ribbon School of Excellence Award, and then later on we received the 2018 ESEA Blue Ribbon, or 2018 ESEA Title I Distinguished School Award, and that's kind of the reason why I'm here. At that time, I was able to take 7 of my teachers back to Kansas City, and if you guys remember last winter, there was a deep freeze that kind of went all across the Midwest. That was the week that we were in Kansas City. So when we touched down in Kansas City, I think it was a -20 in Chicago. And when we got off the airport and got to the hotel, I think it was a -10. I called my wife that night and she says, Beaver, it's like 30 degrees. I don't know how many times in your life where you've actually wanted to be in 30-degree temperature, but it sounded really good at that point in time. But we had a wonderful conference there, and I've got a little video, and I've got my little 30-minute speech on there, so if there's any sound, it'll just kind of go through it here in just a second. I've got a video here that will show, it's about 10 minutes, and I'll be honest with you, Belknap Elementary School doesn't do a whole lot of things different than every other elementary school out there. But what we do works for us. And the things that we're going to view today, I hope you can kind of see past my horrible video taking skills. I had an hour there. I've got about 500 students in my school. We have the same problems and headaches and rewards and celebrations that every other elementary school does. We have 57% free and reduced lunch. Title I, we have behavior problems, we have a lot of successes also. So we're not any different than any other school. We fluctuate about 500 students, some a little over, some a little less, some years a little less. But as you go through, I hope that you kind of look past the horrible video taking skills and you kind of look at the content of what's going on in the classrooms. There's 3 things that I think makes Belknap unique and amazing. And those 3 things are going to be covered in this video. The first one, you'll see reading aids working in small groups in our K through 3 classes. Every student will have the opportunity to be to be listened to by an adult. And that is amazing. And then we have rotations, which is kind of a new concept for some in an elementary school, but it works for Belknap, and we'll talk a little bit about that. And then we'll talk about our take-home library and our guided reading libraries. So hopefully I don't bore you too much with this little 10-minute video, but you can play that right now. Good afternoon, my name is Brad Harris and I'm the principal of Belknap Elementary School. And up on stage with me today we have 7 of the best teachers in the nation. Belknap Elementary School is a K-6 school. Our students drink the #1 rated drinking water in the United States that comes right from their hometown. We live in a rural community where students get to eat squeaky cheese that is made in a local factory. And in a world where you can be anything, Belknap Elementary School students choose to be kind. Belknap Elementary School earlier this year was also named a 2018 National Blue Ribbon School also. Belknap rocks.
Let's get our markers and stuff. We're going to practice our eyes on this. Yours, Kristen?
Are we finding? How many eyes did we find in our story? Did you find 12? How many did you find? Awesome. You found 12 as well? 12. That's how many eyes we found in our story. All right. Yep, you just like that. All teams. Okay, ready? Just in there. Here we go. Your second word is sit. What's the word? Hey, spell it. Little I.
So your G should be right here. So what's this letter?
I still gotta look for these coordinates. So, we're gonna do our
Figured out. I'm not sure the word. Man.
I'll get it. Or take-home reading library.
Are you going to talk about the librarian who knows every single kid? Like how she customizes each?
For 10 years, she was in our school, the likes of reading. Every day our students take a different bag home. For the most part, there's a little signature page right there. Parents and the student signs it every night, stating that they read. Do some of us lie to us? But it's just a chance. They're reading with their parents, guardian. Take the basket down every morning and show it. Out. If we have concerns, we get concerns. So say 2 days without reading, talk to them, and then we'll efforts. We have guided reading levels there, especially for science. If science teachers need to come and get different, things on matter or whatnot, all that's for. They can teach the concept out of their core book, but they can also get different levels teaching.
What's your average class size?
7, probably on average. Occasionally we'll go up to 30, occasionally we'll go down. Depends on the day. Not enough, and some days way too many.
Okay.
We have probably about 20.
Notice 6. A company has 3 divisions.
In a lot of elementary.
Last year, each division earned a profit of $5 times 10 to the 5th hour. What was the total profit the company earned
Rotate.
last
So
year?
there's 3 3-hour blocks throughout the
5 times
day
10 to
where I
the
have a math specialist in every grade level. For the most part, it's taken years to kind of master. Every teacher has their strengths and their weaknesses. Strength is math. Make them a math specialist. Science, we make them a science specialist. So in every grade level, I have a math specialist. All they do is teach every 3rd grader math. 4th grade, we have a math specialist. They just teach every 4th grader math. They just have to come to school.
Just be brave, put your hands on your head if you have no idea why I use
3 different ways.
that kind of there.
Kind of a middle school mentality, but we're very.
Okay, all hands down.
These are language
All
arts
hands
specialists.
down.
use.
And so why did I use this kind of there?
I'm biased.
Do the students rotate or the teachers rotate?
It just shows ownership. Right, exactly.
They have a
Hey.
homeroom in the
They have a
morning
homeroom
first.
that they do library, that they do music and everything else.
Hey, honey, where did the desk particle tickle you guys?
So we rotate into it.
Where?
Brad, can you comment on how
Huh?
the view of the
In the
students,
neck.
theirs and mine, has shifted?
Starting out years ago, and this is almost done. Average students. It's set high expectations. Please rise. This is our district, and our school has protocol for things that we can use. These are our rise data scores from last year, and we just always do our best. But for the most part, our district has specific, what's the word? My mind's not there right now. Materials that we can use. They're all scientific-based research, and teachers have to use those, and we stress those with our teachers almost every PLC. Going back to your comment, years ago when I taught 5th grade, my principal came up and basically says, we're going to try this new thing, rotations. And you know, the mindset with elementary teachers is, no, these 25 students are mine, those 25 are yours, and those 25 are yours. So you have fun, and we'll meet at the end of the quarter, and we'll see how we did. With our rotations, instead of having that mentality, now the mentality is, these 75 students are ours. What are we going to do as a team to get them to achieve? And our PLCs are remarkable. They do PLCs kind of unofficially many times a day when they're out in the halls. You know, they'll be watching the students rotate back and forth, and if the teacher has a concern, they'll go up to the other teachers and basically just say, you know, keep an eye on Johnny. He's having a bad day. You know what I mean? He flunked his test or whatnot. So then sometime throughout that next period, the teacher can go up and say, hey, you know, you having a bad day? You know, they can communicate, they can talk. Every student in that grade level is theirs. Once a month I meet with them. I set up a time where I meet with them. We go over data, a lot of testing, a lot of formative assessments. We go over data. The rotations are needs-based, so we can move them, and we do move them often, depending on what they need at that point in time. But it's just a great tool. It works for Belknap.
So they're leveled and, so they don't rotate in their homeroom, they would rotate.
They go to their homeroom, and then once we start rotations, then they'll rotate in their leveled rotation. And then they'll stay in that rotation all 3 times.
Do you know what grade levels you're doing this with?
We started in 5th grade years ago, and it worked, and then we jumped into 6th grade, and it worked, and then the 4th grade teachers wanted to do it. Now the 3rd grade, I know our 2nd grade teachers want to do it, but we're hesitant to go that low, and we're probably not going to be going that low anytime soon. But we do it 3rd, 4th, 5th, and 6th grade. Like I said, we have math specialists in each grade level. They're amazing at math. Why not have the amazing math teachers teach math? We have language arts teachers in each grade level that are amazing. And there was a time years ago where we kind of said, this is the direction we want to go. This isn't the right fit. We're going to move you to a different grade level. And for the most part, some of them kind of said, but right now, if you went in my school and you said, what's the one thing that makes Belknap stand out? That's say rotations. If you had to go start a new school, what's one thing that you'd want to take with you to start the new school? That'd say rotations. Every one of them would. Second thing on the video on here, our reading aids. We have the reading aids go into our kindergarten, 1st, 2nd, and 3rd grade classes. They're in small groups. If you noticed, there's no chaos, and I can't even think of the word. It's not chaotic in the classroom. For the most part, they know exactly what to do. They don't know exactly where to go. They're in small groups, so they're monitored, and it's an amazing tool. Just to have an adult listen to them read every day is amazing. The PLCs, I briefly talked about also. The take-home library, I feel like we have one of the best reading specialists in the state. I don't know if you know Miss Lorraine Brown. She's amazing. She started this 20 years ago in a little closet, and it's just grown because everyone's bought into it, and you can see our library right there. That's just our take-home library, and it's utilized daily by all the different teachers. They come in and they can check out books and just their instruction. You guys have any questions? Those are kind of the four things that I think makes Belknap amazing.
So you talked about homeroom, then they go to the rotations and levels. Do you mean ability levels?
Yes. That's the way we kind of do it in ability. I know I'm not supposed to say that, but for the most part, that's basically where it's at. It's working.
Within the grade or?
It's only within the grade.
Only within the grade.
The lower ability ones, we have basically, let's say 16. The higher ones, we'll put a few more in there. But during that time, we schedule with our special ed teachers so that they can come in also to just give more people in there so that we can have 1-on-2, 1-on-3, 1-on-4 opportunity doing math, language arts, and science, and so on and so forth.
The students high in math, but maybe not as high in reading. They're kind of in a different group.
During the PLC,
it's a separate
during the
grouping.
PLCs, we talk about that all the time. We're always moving up, down, depending on what's going on. And at those times, we talk about specific students. How are you doing in language arts? How are they doing in math? And then the teacher makes a decision on where they need to go.
So it's one placement across all 3 subjects.
Yes.
Yes, question. With your paraeducators and their work within the classrooms, could you talk about the structure that focused on as a tier 2 intervention? Do they have primary instruction in reading with their teacher? How does that?
They still do. This is only a 20-25 minute gig where they come in. Yes, they still have the other 40-45 minutes or so with their actual teacher. This is basically a tier 2. A lot of times they'll just go over different things. We use Spire, which we think is an amazing tool. We have some reading specialists that go around and just do Spire to our lower kids for the most part. We do Imagine It. Phonics also, which is really good. So it's more of just we do a lot of pieces that we just add on to regular core.
What opportunities do your parents have to collaborate with your classroom teachers so then they're reinforcing the same skills that they'll see in a classroom?
Great question. We try to get them together once a week. We allow some time, about 10-15 minutes or so. Some of them are before school, some of them are after school, but we allow time. And it's hard, I'll be honest with you, to get everyone kind of scheduled together, but we do allow a few minutes every week to talk.
Are your PLCs built in during the day, and who covers those classes, or is it before and after?
Unofficial PLCs, when we're rotating, the kids will come out in the hall, they'll rotate in, the teachers will kind of come out and monitor, and then they'll just kind of talk. This is just unofficial. Keep an eye on Johnny. Sally's having a rough day. So and so and so and so. But they do meet every day after school for about 5 minutes, and they just talk about how the day went, and different things like that, what they need to do for tomorrow. And then once a month, if not more often, I set up a specific time for about 45 minutes to an hour. I go down, we go over data, we talk about every student in the class, and so on and so forth. So we have unofficial, and I'll be honest with you, 3-minute unofficial PLCs in the hall are more important most of the time than my PLCs where I sit down with them. It's because it's hands-on, it's right then, it's right there, they can adjust, they can help the student with whatever they need help with. Those are probably more beneficial than, don't tell them that though.
So do your teachers change as well on the levels they're teaching their kids? I mean, if
My 5th grade math specialist will basically teach math for those 3 rotations. He'll go a little bit higher for the higher needs. He'll go basically just kind of averaging with the special ed and the lower needs. He'll kind of go a little bit lower with that math. Usually we have the special ed teacher in there, so there's 2 or 3 adults in there helping so that they just get smaller groups.
Do you have a school learning coach or site coordinator or what other support?
We're in a small school. We're in a small district. We have, and I know you guys are, even in the larger districts, you have many, many hats. I'm a district transportation director also, which, you know what I mean? So we have so many hats. When you say that, no, we don't have one by that official title, but I would go to Lorraine Brown and say I need help, and I know she could help me.
I wanted to know a little bit more about the amount that your teachers, or retaining your teachers. Okay? Is there a lot of change?
I'll be honest with you, we have a lot of the same problems that every other school has with students, with behavior, with teachers. We have the best teachers in the state. And we don't have a whole lot of problem with retaining teachers. For the most part, most of the teachers, almost every teacher except one, is homegrown. They're basically from there. They have ties to Beaver. You have to have ties to live in Beaver. You know what I mean? It's not a Walmart within 100 miles or 50 miles. You know what I mean? So they're all homegrown. They know. They went to school with mom, dad, with brothers, sisters. There's a lot of ties that way. And for the most part, for a teaching position to come available, someone has to retire or kick the bucket.
Yeah. Well, I was just gonna say, because I feel like you're saying we're
honest.
I feel like you're saying we're very similar to a lot of schools, and that is a very big challenge when teachers are not able to be retained. And I think that's something to celebrate, that your teachers want to stay at your school and you can develop them where they are and help them grow and change. That's not something that a lot of us, experience. So.
Could you just give us an idea what your scores were?
What our scores were, I briefly threw it up there. I don't want to brag or anything. We do pretty well. This year we were a little bit lower with language arts than we have been in the past, mainly because I think they took the writing portion away, a third of it, and we are excellent. We do really well at writing, so that kind of boosts our scores. So without that there, our scores in 3rd grade in math were 81%. In language arts in 3rd grade, we were 71%. So we're basically 70 to 80, and we're basically 20 to 30% higher than the state average on any given year. So all of ours are 70 to 80, a couple of them. Math and science, we got 84%, and that was a rough class, so kudos to that teacher, he did an amazing job.
What percentage of EL learners do you have, and how do they perform compared to your?
We have probably 20-something EL, but then this year we've received 9. This is going to be a struggle this year. We've received 9 new students that don't speak a lick of English, so we're switching some things around a little bit to help those. In the past, that's been one of our lowest areas, and there's been a big push to help that. We have improved a little bit, but it's nowhere near where we want to be. Anything else? First of all, again, thank you. Thank you for allowing me. I hope that you can take something away from this. We're all in this together. I know a lot of people come and they walk through our school, and we do the same thing. We go and walk through other people's schools because we want to improve and we want to get better also. But thank you for your time. Hope you guys have a wonderful day, and maybe you can go get a Diet Coke right now.
Thank you. It's always great we hear that we focus on high expectations, focus on high quality instruction. all of those things are what really makes it. So Becky Peters is going to pull up a little presentation on the professional learning opportunities. But we will be naming 2019 SEA Distinguished Schools later this fall. So I have a little flyer here with the information about it. Also in your packet, something that our staff has been asked to do in the ACE group, develop standard operating procedures for various things that we're doing. So I spent 2 or 3 days, whenever I had a couple of extra minutes, working on a draft of a standard operating procedure for not only these national distinguished schools, but something I would like to do, something that some of my colleagues in other states are doing is they broaden these categories a little bit. We can only send 2 schools every year to the national conference, and there are pretty, strict guidelines about how those schools are selected, what they have to have as characteristics, that kind of thing. But providing an opportunity for additional schools to be recognized. We know that every year or every few years, we identify a lot of schools for some sort of improvement. State school turnaround is a yearly identification. Targeted support and intervention schools under the Every Student Succeeds Act, we identified last year. That will be an ongoing annual identification. Comprehensive support and improvement schools we identified last year. We won't identify again for 3 years. That's a 3-year identification. We have very few opportunities to recognize schools that are doing really good work and make that information available to other schools across the state, other LEAs who can then network and learn from one another. So what I've proposed here, and I'm asking for some of your feedback, we were going to have, take some time and have some of you that wanted to work in a round table to provide feedback. But I'm just going to talk you through this for a few minutes. And if you have feedback, this is this draft standard operating procedure form that I'm looking at. The top it says Utah Distinguished Award and National ESEA Distinguished Title I Schools. So what I'm proposing is that we have a category of schools called Utah Title I Distinguished Schools. And that we look at schools in the highest 5% of Title I schools in the state, both schools that are doing school-wide Title I programs, and then also schools in the top 5% of schools that are doing targeted assistance programs. So we would have those 2 lists of schools. So that would be the first category. And so it gives you a little bit of a description there about how that would work. And then the second category would be, we used to have reward schools. You turn to page 3 at the bottom. Several years ago, when we were working under an ESEA flexibility waiver from No Child Left Behind, we have priority focus, and we also have reward schools. Under the Every Student Succeeds Act, reward schools went away. But some states are still honoring schools. So this would, again, look at schools that are a group of schools that are school-wide Title I schools, a group of schools that are targeted assistance Title I schools, and look at schools that are in the highest 6 to 10% of Title I schools in the state. So that broadens the number of schools that can have some sort of recommendation. There would be no funding or travel or anything that would be provided to Utah Distinguished Schools or Utah Reward Schools. Then, out of those schools that were in that highest 5% of school-wide program schools, the Utah Distinguished Schools, we would then invite schools in that category to apply for the National ESEA Distinguished Schools. So that starts at the bottom of page 4. And that would be the pool of schools that would be eligible, that we would then reach out to those LEA directors, superintendents and charter directors, and say, you have a school or schools that are Utah Title I Distinguished School-Wide Program schools. They're in the top 5% of Title I schools in the state. Then the LEA has the opportunity to nominate that school or those schools to be considered for the 2 national distinguished schools. The 2 national distinguished schools, like Mr. Harris's school last year and Wasatch Elementary in Davis District last year, are provided with a supplemental $15,000 Title I grant so that those schools can take a team of people to the national conference. You saw in his video the school up at the podium being recognized in front of everyone in attendance at the conference. So we give them the supplemental award so they have funding to register, to travel, to allow a school team to go there and learn, hear keynote speakers, go to breakout sessions, talk to other schools from across the country and share ideas. So I'm running this past you. We don't have to do any of this. We do participate in the National ESEA Distinguished School. That honors 2 schools a year. This would give us an opportunity to at least recognize some additional schools, send them a letter of recognition, post it on the website, send them a certificate, and at least recognize some of that. We know there's incredible work going on in many of our schools. And our targeted assistant schools have never really been eligible to apply for the national award. So this at least gives them an opportunity to have some recognition. So what are your initial thoughts about this? And you don't have time to read through all of my stuff here because I went step by step of how this would work. Is this something that you're interested in doing, or should we just say no, we will look at the top 5% of schools, let those LEAs nominate those schools if they choose to be reviewed for potentially having the national. We can only send 2. 2 per state. We can't send more than that. Yes, Melissa.
I love
Well, you are Melissa.
I love having the opportunity to recognize multiple schools. I know that it was when I was in the field, and having that opportunity to really boost morale and getting recognized on our way to the Distinguished School Award when we received this was awesome. It was really motivating. It really boosted morale. I love the opportunity, and the more you can recognize the hard work in the field, the better off we are, especially from a state level.
Thank you. Just to say, Missy actually turned several schools around in several different districts. But the first school that I first remember Missy turning around was a small school in a rural community that had always been the lowest achieving school in the entire LEA. She went in, and within a few years, that school went out of improvement status to the National Distinguished School level. Then moved to a more urban district. She took another school that was kind of the lowest performing in that district, turned that school around. Eventually, that school won recognition. Okay, and then she moved to another. I mean, Missy's just one of those people that goes around and she really changes things for schools. And the schools that she turned around have continued to improve. They don't go back into improvement status. They don't kind of peter out and just, oh, well, that was, something we did back then when Missy was here. It's continued to sustain. We've had other schools. Iron County's had some that have just, continued to improve over time and are just always high-performing schools. So I appreciate her comments specifically because she's done the hard work of being in improvement and then actually getting to the level where the schools were honored at the national level. Any other feedback? Yes.
I just know the process of going through those applications helps you become better.
Yeah.
So just going as a school and going through processes and having certain expectations that you're trying to meet only improves the quality of your instruction, and it raises everything above. And then I agree with her, recognizing the hard work. Teachers have a hard job.
Yes,
and recognizing more.
Yeah. Right?
And being able an opportunity to recognize you're on the right path, keep going, good job, is motivating.
Thank you, Carrie. I think, publicizing, I remember one time Enoch Elementary in Iron County was, I think, a national school, and they had a parade. And they invited Ann White and I to come to Enoch and be in this parade. They had a paddy wagon. We had to ride in this paddy wagon, I think with the sheriff or whatever. But the entire town of Enoch turned out for that parade.
Nice.
Everyone came out of their homes, out of the businesses, lined the streets as the kids and the teachers and the principal and everybody else, the district level staff, participated in that parade. It was a big deal. And even though the principal that was there then, I know is gone now, she's probably retired, but that school has continued to perform at high levels. But it built that entire community up. So anybody that thinks it's not a good idea, because I don't want to do things without getting your input. Your input is really what we need to do our work better to support what you're doing. Yeah.
I'm not necessarily opposed to it, but I also think maybe there should be a distinguishment between percentage of students that are on free and reduced lunch, because being a 50% school, is not comparable to being at a 90% school.
We do look at that when people submit applications. That is one of the things we look at is poverty, what's happening, what is achievement looking like in comparison to state achievement, LEA achievement. Yes.
Tagging on to his comment, kind of the other side, I like that it gives targeted assistance schools an opportunity to shine.
Yeah, because I think they've always just
No
sort
other
of
way to be
been a
recognized.
neglected group. Like Brett's school is doing incredible things, but there's never a way to really honor that work that's taking place. Many of the targeted schools. Yeah.
I think it's really a great idea to kind of be more inclusive and recognizing, especially that recognition coming from Title I is more meaningful because paying close attention to those who needs more. I can be recognized with various other organizations, but if I'm recognized for Title I, it's recognizing what I'm doing with those specific students. So I think it's more valuable in that sense. Also, I'm sure you are looking into that, but sometimes elementary or secondary kind of schools are not the same.
Yeah.
That's something that you are considering also, because in an elementary setup it's totally different, in a secondary it's totally different.
Absolutely.
They have their own kind of.
Yeah, thank you, Hanafi. And I think he brings up a good point about secondary, because many of our Title I schools, not only in Utah but across the nation, very few high schools receive Title I money. And that's because a lot of LEAs tend to concentrate their funding at the elementary level. The thought is catch the kids early. So by the time, kids get to high school, oftentimes middle schools, junior highs, high schools oftentimes don't receive Title I money. And if they do, many times they're going to be a targeted assistance school. Unless they have 75% poverty or higher, then they have to receive. But many secondary schools don't. So it opens up the window for more of those schools to participate. Yeah.
So is this open as well to schools with middle schools? I'm a K-8 charter school. I'm looking at the list since 2010. There's not been a charter school from the state of Utah that's ever won, and there's never been a K-8 school that's ever won. There's always been elementary schools. Is it open to charter schools?
It is. So I was going to clarify one other thing. Oh, so for the application, so you heard Assistant Superintendent Nielsen speak this morning. So we know if we're going to have RISE data, it's going to be delayed. Last year it was delayed, so we're going to have to use, 2018 data, 2017 data to determine this. We can't, because the applications are due, and then we have to actually notify the National Association by November 30th of who those two schools are going to be that are going to be recognized. So we're going to have to use the last, couple of years of data to determine that. As far as the nominations go, let me talk to you a little bit about that. We have a committee of people that review those. And sometimes it's unfortunate because we'll have LEAs, and the way this works is notifications go out to superintendents or like charter school directors, okay? LEA heads are the people that we contact. We also copy the Title I directors on the communication. We will say, you have this school or these schools eligible to be nominated for this national award. Some LEAs, really go out and really help those schools, shine. I mean, they put together an application with letters of support from parents and students and other people. We've had schools submit little video clips showing what's actually happening in the school. And then we've had other LEAs that have just said to the school principal, JM, your school is, you're eligible to be nominated for this award. Would you just write a letter to the state Title I people and tell them you'd like to be nominated or you'd like to be considered? So then we have this school principal that writes a little letter, and then you're competing with another LEA that's really gone the mile to put extra mile to make sure that that school really shines. They're really highlighting what this school is doing to benefit the children, the youth that are attending there. And so so we've actually got some guidelines that we'll send out to you that say these are the kinds of things that we'd like to see in an application. But that's what we have to look at. So we look at all the data that we can possibly gather and look at. We look at poverty levels. We look at, what's the overall achievement. But one of the other things that we're going to consider, and it's on this this standard operating procedure draft, is if the LEA has not been, they haven't been submitting their Title I applications on time, they are letting funds expire and not claiming them, then we have to send them back to the U.S. Treasury. They haven't done their desktop monitoring instrument on time. They've had outstanding recommendations from prior monitoring visits or something that they've just left and they haven't responded. We are not going to consider schools. We will not also be able to consider schools that are in improvement status, right? Obviously. If schools are in turnaround, CSI, obviously they won't be the highest performing. But there may be schools that are relatively high performing, but they're in targeted support and improvement because their students who are English learners are not doing well at all. So there's a lot of things we want to really consider when we look for these schools that are really, the ones we really want to shine a light on, and then put some information on the website so that others can look at, where these schools are located. What are they doing? If I were a school principal, what could I learn from, Lori's school in Weaver District that would help me do a better job of what I'm trying to do? So we'll send out more information. We'll send out additional information about what needs to be included in the nominations. We've requested data from our data and statistics team. We haven't received that yet, but we'll keep reaching out to them, and I'll get back to you with any potential updates. And as this document gets closer to a final draft, I'll send it back around again. But I will send this to you electronically. And if you have any places on here where you want to make comments, just feel free to, add a comment or something and email it back. I really do appreciate and need your feedback on that. Okay, the one other thing I wanted to talk to you about today is an opportunity that we have to work with Corwin to provide some professional learning for Title I school teams. This will be an extension of some work that Jennifer Thronson started last school year. She didn't focus primarily on Title I schools. I know some of the schools in her group are Title I schools because I've attended those sessions. But we'd like to extend an additional cohort opportunity to specifically the Title I schools. So we're talking about developing students who are assessment capable learners. This is based on the work of Dr. John Hattie, Corwin owns the rights to John Hattie's work in North America, so it's the only way to get this kind of professional learning is to go, to work on a contract and a partnership with Corwin. There would be 2 books that we would provide. One is the Teacher Clarity Playbook, and then Developing Assessment Capable Learners. And this would be a 2-year opportunity. So this kind of tells you what are the characteristics of students who are assessment capable learners, and what kinds of things are their teachers doing to help ensure that the children are assessment capable learners. And I think you're all very familiar with Dr. Hattie's work on effect sizes and how all of that plays out. These are some of the evidence-based strategies that are embedded in assessment capable learners. So these are things that have very high effect sizes. And as I listen to principals like Mr. Harris talk, and many of you talk about, things happening in your LEA during your school, these are the kinds of things I hear you talking about that are really making a difference. We had our summer conference on August 1st. We had about 300 people that attended. We got 48 surveys back from that, so not that great of a return on the surveys. What we found is people really loved the keynote speakers that talked about poverty, and Dr. Matt from Harvard talked about powerful partnerships with parent and families and communities. Overall, people loved that. They loved Dr. Maria Freitas from Wested, who also talked about parent engagement. There were only a few teachers that responded, but what they said about the breakout sessions is they went looking for strategies to help them improve their practice. But they felt a lot of the breakouts were more focused on people like you who serve in leadership capacities. Okay, and I remember as a classroom teacher myself, I was always seeking out opportunities for my own professional learning and growth because I knew I had those students every day, and I wanted to make sure I was doing the best that I possibly could. So I was always looking for things. This is an opportunity for teachers to engage in professional learning. So when you set up school teams, if you want to participate in this, we want teachers involved in addition to principals, in addition to Title I directors, but we don't just want all leadership people, we want teachers involved. So Nancy Fry and Tony Faddis will be the primary consultants. There may be others, there may be Doug Fisher and others, but right now it's Nancy and Tony. It's a system level approach, so we have a district administrator who can attend, principals, and then teachers who can serve in kind of an instructional leadership role within the school. And these are some of the outcomes that we're looking for. And I'm not going to spend a lot of time on this. You have the slides, and I'll send this out electronically. So this is what we're looking for a recommended team. So we would like to have Title I directors involved, or perhaps a designee if you have someone who's an assistant or someone who's a teacher specialist or someone that they could attend. We want the building administrator there for each school that participates. That's really important. Teachers can come and do a lot of things on their own, but if their building principal isn't there supporting and then going back and following up and setting expectations and providing that ongoing support, it's really hard for things to happen. Content specialists could attend. If there's an instructional coach, we'd like at least an instructional coach for each school. And again, teachers, there's some kind of team sizes that you might consider based on the size of your school or LEA. These are the dates. The dates have been set with Corwin. The locations have not yet been set. We'll be getting more information on that. But we will start in January. and go through April of 2020, and then we will return in September of 2020, and then finish up in March of 2021. So it's kind of a 2 school year process that we'll engage in. These are some things that we would hope would be assurances from your level, and that is, and we know the first one may not be possible, but if it's possible, that the same building leader remains in the school for the 2 years. It's really hard to start with one principal and then the second year there's a new person that didn't have all of the first part of the training, and they're trying to step in and fill in. Instructional leadership teams are going to need some time to plan and work together on implementation. We'll ask you what you're going to do to implement, across the school or in a grade level, or, spread it out across the LEA. And there'll be some assignments that you'll turn in. So it's not sit and get kinds of things. We're asking people to come that want to come, that want to be engaged, that are there to learn. We're going to charge a small fee, and the reason for that is if we charge a small fee, we can provide food, and then we don't have to take a 90-minute lunch break and send people out, and then we've got to, leave and come back, and then there's traffic. People think, oh, I've got time to go out to a restaurant, and then they're late coming back, and it's just disruptive. We will provide all the books. We will provide substitute reimbursements, all of the other materials, relicensure credit. And then we're going to assign one of the USBE staff who will sit with each school team as a liaison. They won't be there to really issue any orders. They're going to be there learning with that school team, fully participating with that school team. We'll make sure we have good people assigned to each of the schools. And then a signature from a leader in the LEA who can really, get behind this and say, we really do want this school or these schools to participate in this, and we will support those people that are participating as they have a copy of the application. I will send this out electronically, and we may do a short, just a few-minute webinar in case a school principal wants to get on for 10 minutes and just kind of listen to see if something he or she would like their school to participate in. These will be due November 22nd at 5 o'clock. So all that information's there, and as I said, we'll send it out to you electronically. Oh,
The applications are the 22nd.
this is the 22nd. Did I have the wrong date on the
There, it says
PowerPoint?
on there.
The slide is wrong.
Oh, that's wrong. Okay, and I thought I'd corrected that. That should be November 22nd.
I'm sorry, how many slots are there?
We're looking at around a total group of about 125 people. So that's a group that's, fairly good size, but still manageable. So that's kind of what we're looking for. We want to get the applications in by the 22nd. I'll send this out, like I said, electronically in a few days. Then we'll notify you at the beginning of December so people can, make sure they've got those dates on their calendar, and we'll get locations set up. So what we're looking for are people that want to be actively engaged. So if people come and they bring devices, they need to be engaged in what's happening. If people are coming and they're checking papers, or they're online on Amazon buying new shoes, then people sitting by them are on Amazon also looking at new shoes. And that same goes for USBE staff. They will be engaged. They will be sitting with teams engaged in what's happening. They will not be on computers answering email or looking at their phone or doing other things. They will be expected as well to be engaged. in the opportunity. So what questions do you have about this, Annalise?
Just a comment. Last year, our Title III team implemented the Teacher Clarity book, and we had 2 hours with instructional coaches every month. And so we went through each of these modules, and they're amazing. It is the first time I found a resource that integrates the academic language with unpacking the standards. So being in the same room and having those conversations and how that impacts our English learners in a Tier 1 instruction, best resource. So I highly, and I love the fact that now we have an opportunity possibly to bring a team. So ours still remained last year at the district level with our coaches, but being able now to take that to a team will be, I highly recommend it.
Thank you, Annalise.
I can back on that, piggyback there too. We did the same thing. We bought one for every teacher in our district last year, the playbook, and it was great.
Yeah.
The teachers loved it. Simple, straightforward, helpful. It was really good.
Thank you. Yeah, the playbook's excellent because it really helps you unpack the standards and then also look at learning progressions that are necessary for if a student needs to meet this standard up here, what are all the learning progressions on the way so you can scaffold that instruction to get the student up here to the standard. And it's very clear. It's set up in modules. I really enjoy it too, and I've been around a long time, and so it's a really good resource.
And they have examples for both elementary and secondary, which...
Yes, they do. They have examples for both elementary and secondary. They have examples for English language arts, math, science. So it's not particular to one subject area or one grade level. It kind of encompasses a broad array. How many of you have schools involved in that first cohort that started last year? Yeah, I remember Steve being there, Tooele. Emory had some people there. So I think Jennifer's continuing with that. Leslie and I participate in the sessions that Jennifer has going with cohort 1, and we'll continue to do that. But then I wanted to expand that so that we're getting more schools, more opportunities to learn and to grow. So I'll get all that out to you. We'll correct that date on the PowerPoint so everything jives. Any other questions? Yes.
Are we allowed to use Title I funds to pay for the $100 registration?
Yes.
We can.
Yes. You can use Title I funds to register. And as some of you said, like Jason was saying, Duchesne chose to buy books for additional teachers that, didn't get to come to the training. Annalise has done the same thing with the Title III specialists within Alpine District. But we'll provide copies of both of those books for every participant that comes. So I think it's a good opportunity. I'm really excited about it. I hope that we'll get schools that will want to participate in it. Some of you will want to come and learn along with us. So, out of time. Val is going to be here starting at 1:30. She's the guru on the desktop monitoring instrument. She really is. She's worked really hard to try to update that and do whatever to support you. Max and Leslie, do you want to mention anything about the electronic survey for school improvement?
We've been on tour lately, going out to do focus groups for schools and improvement. We're mostly interested in, we're asking these exact questions. Well, there's a couple others for teachers. So if you'd like to add written answers to those questions, I know you're kind of out of time, but take some time to do that. We're also hosting an online webinar on the 25th. There will be a flyer attached to all these other resources coming that has the URL embedded in that flyer, and it will be in an invitation format so you could send it out to teachers as well. So that happens on the 25th, and then just to garner even more responses, we're going to create a form to send that out. So if you see school improvement focus groups and you have schools and improvement, LEA staff is invited to respond, principals, teachers, any stakeholders that have been involved in the school improvement process, whether you have been through and then exited or not, or whether you're just beginning your odyssey of improvement. I think that's all I wanted to say about that. But look for the flyer and please respond. We're getting lots of good feedback.
Thank you. You've been really marvelous today, and we apologize for all the crazy technical issues. You know, it's just technology. I want to thank you so much for being here. We know how precious your time is. We know you don't have enough. And so I'm really grateful, and I'm grateful to those people that participated online. Because we were here today trying to set up and everything this morning, Becky has some books on root cause analysis. Some of you may not have had an opportunity to pick that up. If you like one of those on your way out, please get it. Our next meeting will be November 20th. We added another meeting in because we just don't have enough time with you to provide information and resources that you really want to. So please have a wonderful, wonderful safe drive home. We wish you the very best this school year. Please reach out to us if you have questions. And as soon as we know any more about the Utah grants, we will reach out, set up that WebEx, and don't hesitate at any time to reach out to us. Thank you so much. I want to thank
So I'm going to ask you to ask.
Yeah, what's the data?